Welcome. We are an international marriage coaching company. We've helped tens of thousands of people just like you all around the world to help them save their marriage, especially when your spouse is saying that they want out, they're having an affair, they want a divorce. My name is Heather Choate, and I live here in Colorado. I am the mom of 8 kids, and I am the owner with Marc Johnston of High Thrive Coaching. And like I said at the beginning here, I really want to make this a dialogue, not just a monologue. So I'm definitely going to be watching the chat to make sure that you are letting us know what is going on with you guys over there. And as we do some of these exercises together, what I'm going to be sharing isn't just information, it's transformation. How many of us agree that we've got enough information out there? Like, we've read the books, we've listened to the podcast, we've gone to counseling, we've talked to the pastor, we have all of this information. Our mom knows exactly the solution here. Our best friend is giving us advice about what to do with our marriage. We have enough information. What we need is transformation. So what I'm going to be sharing with you today is not just the right information that's actually going to help you, but as you apply it into your life and into your relationship right now, it's going to create transformation. Awesome. Calling for New Zealand Saturday morning. Welcome. Robert, my wife has had an affair for the last year. She's filed for divorce and says she can never be happy with me. All right, so we're going to give you some solutions to that. And I'm going to be sharing with you guys secret techniques, okay? I know that can sound a little maybe hoaxy, but bottom line is that what we teach here is radically different than anything that your therapist probably taught you or any of the other things out there. Here at High Thrive Coaching, we're really revolutionizing the way that marriages are saved. And so we're going to share some of those inside secrets with you guys today that you can use in your marriage right away. So we're going to talk about a 4-step system to save your marriage without getting your heart hurt. And it works even if your spouse is completely checked out. They're saying, I don't want to work on the marriage with you. You should just move on. Even if there's an affair going on and there's major broken trust. Even if, your husband says here, like Nicole says, it's never going to work. It's never going to work. There's nothing you can do. You've got no communication going on. You feel like you do not have a connection, even though you might be trying to have a connection. You feel like it's just not there right now, or you have complete lack of trust. It works as long as you commit to do exactly what I'm going to share with you. Sound good? All right. Now, first exercise. Let's see. Do we have a poll, Diego? Yes, we do. Awesome. I'm going to launch a poll here. And so you guys can see. I want to know, what is your situation? Are you a type A couple where you already have a divorce filed? They're already talking to a lawyer. You already have a divorce filed. They're talking about divorce. You want to know what to do if you can cancel it, how you can get back with them again, if it's even possible, right? Type B would be no trust affair. There's lots of different trust issues. You maybe can talk to each other, but your spouse doesn't believe what you say or do, or vice versa. And then type C is no communication. You can't talk without arguing. Your spouse doesn't believe what you say, and your spouse doesn't open up, and they avoid the deeper communication. So let me know where you're at, because I can customize what I share with you based on where most of you guys are at and make sure that I give you some solutions there. Nicole says C, Marc says A, Elena says A, C, Trey, Robert, A and B, Elena, A, Marc, A, Marc, another Marc, A, Nicole, C. Okay, awesome. And I see your poll answers here. So it's pretty evenly split, which is interesting because sometimes we have some that lean a lot more to one issue or another. Carl, divorced, Vanessa, C, A and B. Okay, thanks, Robert, and Carl, and Vanessa, and everyone else. So across the board, we can see that there are definitely some big trust issues. We've got some disconnection issues, and we definitely have some communication issues. So we're going to definitely address those today. So thank you for sharing that. And let's go on into a gift that I want to give you guys. Oh, where did the gift go? I don't know where our gift went. Well, my slide with our beautiful gift is missing. So I'm going to let you guys know that at the end of this presentation, I'm going to share with you our 7 proven conversation starters, because it's really hard to open up communication in a situation where your spouse says they want out, they just want to be friends, they don't trust you, or you don't trust them. How do you have that open, freeing kind of conversation and communication? How do you even start? And so in that situation, we've helped both our own marriages personally. I've been there myself. I know what it's like when your spouse is pulling away and closed off, and how challenging it is to get communication open. And with the hundreds of thousands, not hundreds of thousands, but tens of thousands of students that we've helped to be able to get that communication open. So if you like that, stick around to the end, and I'll make sure that I send that to you. And I will make sure that we get your email so we can send that to you. All right, so our big discovery here, after working with tens of thousands of couples, we found one little thing that is a big reason why marriages are ending in divorce. I say it's something insane because literally no one else is even talking about it. In fact, we didn't even discover ourselves until we've been doing this a long time. And we've been helping so many couples. And we realized that if we were missing it, then so is everyone else. So we call this method the PATH method. And I'm going to go into exactly how it works and what it looks like. All right, thank you for sharing that over in the chat there, Diego or Linda. Here's the link right over in the chat. Get your 7 Human Conversation Starters. It is a PDF over in Google Docs, so you can just go ahead and click that link and have access to that right away. So awesome, thank you, appreciate that. Oh, here's our slide. Somehow it got moved. That's what happens when we do these things live. It's beautiful. So here's the guide that we will send you as our thank you for coming, so that you can use this in your marriage right now and start to get some communication over. So go ahead and grab that link over in the chat and you'll get this guide here. Awesome. Thank you. All right, so before we go into the PATH method, I want to start with a little bit of an exercise. I want you to put in the chat as you ask yourself these 2 questions. First, where do I want my marriage to be 3 months from now? Where would you really love for it to be 3 months from now? If I had a magic fairy wand and I could make it look like anything, what would that be? And get really detailed with it. How would you like to feel at the end of the day? How would you like to come home and see your partner? What expression would you love to see on their face? How would you love to embrace each other? What kind of things would you love to talk about? What kind of things would you do in the evening as you're relaxing? How would you feel as you're lying down to go to bed, right? How would that really feel when you wake up in the morning and you feel so at peace and you have so much calmness and comfort in your heart, knowing that your spouse is there committed with you and you feel safe and secure, you feel intimate, you feel trusting again? And then how will it feel to have my spouse back in love with me again, committed again, trusting again? So let me know over the chat. I want to see some of your answers about how this would feel. And I'm going to check in with Linda real quick. All right, I see Robert. I want my wife to be excited and passionate to be with me, full of peace and trust and calmness. I want her happy in our marriage and with me as her husband. Awesome. Colin, I want her to be happy to be with me. I want her to be here actually talking. All right, so how amazing would that feel, Colin? What would you guys be talking about? What would the expression on her face be? What would the feeling in your body? How would that feel like? Would you feel calm? Would you feel relaxed? Would you feel excited? Would you feel connected? All of that yumminess, right? Anson says marriage in all its glory. That's beautiful. Awesome. Okay. Davidson, there'd be peace and love. Cool. So Linda's going to be here at the end, and awesome. Appreciate that. Adam, I want her to be happy with me, to be excited. TKM, my wife to re-engage as we are separate at this time. I would love to feel safe, connected, and loved. Nicole, deep connection, smiles, hugs, promise, date nights, overall happiness when he sees me. Beautiful, Nicole. So what would that really feel like, right? Darren, I want my wife to be happy in our marriage and happy with me as her husband. Mel, I want my husband to make efforts to spend time with me and not just the kids. I want him to see the good in me and not be in the assumed negative. Okay, Mel, really pay attention to this next part because we're going to go really deep into what you just shared there. Okay. Dottie, trust restored and 100% in. Terrence, she's cheating on me. She said she's done. So Terrence, obviously that's not what you want 3 months from now. I needed to dig deep. Some of us have a bit of a hard time with this because we're so conditioned to looking at what currently is. But if we only look at what currently is, then we will continue to get what we currently have. We have to start to do some new things to start to get some new results. Make sense? So sometimes it's hard for us to think about where we want to be. We don't really know, and it's hard for us to kind of open our heart or our mind to see that. But I want to push you here. If you don't decide where you're going to go, then life is going to make that decision for you by default. And as we all know, life has a way sometimes of completely ripping us to shreds. So my husband is a pilot, and I've learned that as a pilot, they always choose their destination before they get up in the air, right? They create this flight plan. And what I've learned is after they chose where they're going to go, they say, and I'm going to go to this little tiny dot right here, right? In the middle of nowhere or whatever. And as they're up in the air, I've learned that 99% of the time, a pilot is actually off course. Weird, right? 99% of the time, they're actually off course. And what they do is they make these little tiny course corrections, a little bit here, a little bit there. Sometimes really big things happen, and they have to make some big course corrections. Like if air traffic tells them they have to go around, or there's a military base, or a huge storm comes up. My husband was flying towards a tornado in Kansas earlier this summer. That definitely was a big detour for him. And that's what happens in life, is that we have to choose our destination. We get to decide where we're going. And then our job here at High Thrive Coaching is we will help make those little tiny course corrections to get you to that result. But you have to decide where you're going to go. So be willing to do that. Like Stefan here, it would complete me for us to share our love again. And then we've got Mel, safety, unconditional love, stability, knowing part of a team that can and is willing to take on any challenge and overcome it together. That is a beautiful intention. You decide where you want to go, and we will help you get there. Sound good? Awesome, Andre, appreciate it. So before I go into what this path method is and what this, I say it's, no one else is talking about it, right? It's completely radical. But here's what it's not. It's not working on yourself, okay? We hear this a lot. It's this really popular notion. I mean, how many of us have been told, work on yourself, right? I know I was told that, and it's this big buzz thing out there. And I get where it's coming from, because we can really only control ourselves, and we know that. So oftentimes we hear, just work on yourself. And what we do is, like, we'd ask our clients, like, how are you doing working on yourself? And they would say, I'm doing great. I'm losing weight. I'm getting into shape. I'm better with my kids. I'm more present. I don't work as much. I spend more time at home. I listen. I'm more understanding. I stopped drinking. I stopped complaining. I stopped neglecting my spouse. I stopped to be a bear. I'm doing everything that they say they want. I'm meditating. Sounds familiar, right? And then we would ask them, great, you're doing a good job working on yourself. How is your marriage? And their face would fall and they would say, oh, we're still getting a divorce. Sound familiar? The bottom line here is that working on yourself is good for you. It is. It's good to work on ourselves, and that's empowering, and it's important, and it definitely has its place. But it in of itself is not the solution for saving your marriage. The solution is to work on changing your spouse's story and their beliefs about you. Remember Mel? I told you we would talk about that. So Mel, I hope you're paying attention, and everyone else, because your spouse has a story. They're seeing things very negatively about you. And until we help them let that story go, all the positive change in the world that we make is not going to be enough. And we're going to exhaust ourselves trying. So many times I have clients come to me and people in our audience, and they say, I'm just absolutely exhausted. I don't know how much longer I can keep doing this. I keep trying, and I'm doing everything I possibly can, and it's not working. And that is exhausting when you feel like you're doing everything you can and it's not enough. So what we want to do instead is learn how to help our spouse change their story and the way that they're perceiving the relationship. Because until we really help them let that go, it's going to be the lens through which they see marriage, and all the positive change in the world isn't going to be enough for them to let it go. So in other words, we kind of have to market ourselves to our spouse, okay? In marketing, we want to build what's called the know, like, trust factor. And we have to get people's attention really, really fast, right? And so in a way, what we need to do is get our spouse's attention really fast because we do not have time to waste, right? If your spouse is having this affair, if they're wanting a divorce, if you're currently separated, if things just continue to keep getting more and more distance between you, time is not on your side. And so you need to really get their attention quickly that will make them say, oh, wow, there's something different about you. And then after we have their attention, we can build that know, like, trust factor so that they can let the story go. I'll explain what that is here in a little bit. But here's the big discovery, okay, that no one else is really talking about. 98% of the time, our spouse has built up a belief about us, justifying their reasons in leaving. So I want to know from you guys, what is your spouse's reasons for leaving? What are the excuses for their behavior? What are their justifications? Let me know over in the chat because we definitely want to make sure that we address those. Some of the really common ones are you just won't change, or I can see that you're changing, but it's only temporary. And if I come back to you, then you're probably just going to go back to the way that it was. It's just a manipulation. And so I'm done. I'm not going to be trusting these changes that you're making. Or I can't trust you, Colin. I love you, but I'm not in love with you. Exactly. Andre said, my wife has told all of these things when she left 6 months ago. Nicole, I'm not happy. I'm tired of living two separate lives between his parents, family, and me. What about, I need to find myself. I need to go find myself, or we're better as friends. But the change is temporary. Anson need to find herself and trust. Yep, we got another trust. Tim will never change. His reasons are actual deflections, things he was doing. Okay. Spouse won't change. I can't be happy. Provide emotional intimacy I need. Robert says she lost her love for me years. It's going so fast. Of not being emotionally what she needs. She says she believes she cannot be happy with me and she has to be happy. Yeah, Mark, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. This is thirdly abusive and manipulative. Carl, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. Better as friends. We can't trust each other. So, my friends, thank you for sharing, and Darren and Mel and everyone else. Okay, Mel, I appreciate you going into the story a little more. Elena and all of you, thank you. All right. So, can you see that you're not alone? Right? There are a lot of other people struggling. Their spouses have these stories and beliefs about them as well. Every single one of our clients, when they come to us, have a story that their spouse has a story about them. And what you have to do is remove that story, replace it with a new story, or they will not come back. All the positive change in the world isn't enough. So here's the old model, which is improve yourself, work on yourself, make all these positive changes, exhaust yourself trying to please them and help them want to come back to you. And that often takes a lot of time, sometimes even years, right? Change is hard. It takes a long time. And then you're left hoping that your spouse notices, hoping that it's enough for them to want to come back to you, right? Hoping that everything you're doing is actually going to make a difference. So what happens is that it's just too late. It's too late because it takes too long. So what we want to do instead is the PAC method, the new model. And here, instead of taking years, we're going to make our spouse notice right away. Remember, we're going to get their attention. And then after we have their attention over the next 2 months, 4 months, 6 months, whatever it looks like for you in your specific situation, we're going to start to build that know, like, trust factor. So they actually want to spend time with us again. They want to be with us again. And all of our efforts and our actions and the desires of our heart aren't backfiring. They're actually effective. So they want to be with you. They want to make this work, and they're going to commit to want to get back together with you. And then once they have made that choice, now you have time to make all of the improvements that take a lot of time to really have a healthy and lasting foundation. We're not about making just a quick or temporary fix. We're about real lasting change, but we want to make sure that we take advantage of every opportunity we have right now because time is not on our side. Does that make sense? You guys agree? Let me know if this is resonating with you guys, right? Do you guys see, let me know, check in with me here for a little bit, that when we are just working on ourselves, that alone in and of itself isn't enough to help our spouse let go of that negative perception they have about us. It isn't enough for them to feel safe enough to want to come back. Let me know. I'm watching the chat. Anson says, yep. Awesome. If you have any questions, let me know, because I can slow down and say things a different way. I understand it's probably very different than what you've been trying or what you've heard up until this point. Colin says, definitely tried. Yeah. All right, cool. I'll keep watching the chat. You guys let me know where you're at. Awesome. So our method shows them that we've changed, shows them that the relationship is one that they want to be part of without us even having to say anything. It's a simple 4-step process, okay? And I love this little infographic here. Now, as you're looking at this, don't worry, you're not losing your vision. These little segments here are blurred on purpose, so don't worry about that. But what I want to show you is how this path is like a step-by-step process, customized to you, because it cannot be a cookie-cutter approach. And what we do is we guide you through these different milestones, checkpoint by checkpoint, to get you to that result that you want. Remember the result you said you want: to feel happy, to feel safe, to feel secure, to feel connected, to feel complete and whole again, to have a desire that you both want to be together, right? So how it works is that we assess exactly where you are. We are where we are. We probably don't like where we are, but there comes a certain level of peace in saying, I am where I am, okay? And it's okay because it's where I am. And we then take you through a group assessment, and we say, is there trust? How much level of trust is there in you, and how much of a level of trust is in your husband or your wife? Is there trust? Yes. Okay, cool. Then go to this level, right? Then we take you to communication and connection. If there isn't trust, then we take you down the route here that's necessary to start to rebuild that level of trust. Then once you check the trust checkpoints, milestone there, then we take you into deeper levels of communication and connection. So we guide you step by step, little tiny course corrections, right? You decide where you want to go. We help you make those little tiny course corrections, or sometimes the really big course corrections, so you get where you want to be. Like Terrence said, there's no trust. So we would take you down the trust milestones to make sure that we establish that trust. So you have a healthy foundation on which you can build. Make sense? All right. So let's go into the 4 steps. We call it the path method. The first step is to get their attention. Help them notice that there's something different about us. How do we do that? Here, we want to make sure that we get their attention, that there's something different about us, so they start to question their narrative about us. There's reasons why they're leaving. They start to question them. And I'm like, oh, maybe I actually could be happy here. Oh, maybe I could get my needs met here. Oh, maybe I could let down my guard some. And maybe I don't really need to leave or continue this affair I'm having, or continue making these decisions, right? So how do we get their attention? The first thing that we want to do is, again, remember, we're not going to work on ourselves. We're not going to waste time in therapy. We're not going to guess at what will work. And we're not going to assume that we know it's going to work, like try to do it all of ourselves. And we're not going to freeze out of fear. These things will only backfire. What we're going to do instead is what we call a root assessment. Okay? And in this root assessment is where we, as international marriage experts, we scientifically assess your marriage, and we determine where the root issues and the perceptions are behind their story. So they say, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. There are root issues behind their story. There's usually 3 or 4, sometimes 5 of these root issues that have caused them over the last weeks, months, and years to believe this about you. Now, you might be saying it's completely false. It's not true. That is their story about me couldn't be further from who I really am. And that actually doesn't matter. It matters to you, but you have to realize that to them, this story is true, whether it is true or not. To them, it's real. And if we continue to try to just defend ourselves and try to prove ourselves against their story, it will backfire. It will completely backfire. Now, some of you might be having a huge aha moment right now. And if that's you, let me know in the chat. Like, oh my goodness, I realize I've been doing that, and you're right, it has not been working, and that's why we're still where we are. And some of you are saying, okay, well, I can guess at what one or two of those root issues are behind their story. Yeah, Dottie says totally backfired. Yeah. Andre says, how can we know their story? We can't read their mind. Exactly, we can't read their minds. Taryn said, yes, I've been trying too hard. So you guys are seeing that, yeah, we can't read their minds. The story may or may not be true. We're trying to prove or defend ourselves against their story to change it so they want to come back, but it's backfiring. It isn't working. So when we have an idea, we can say like, okay, their story is, I don't trust you because 2 years ago you had an affair. Okay, so I know that because I had an affair, that's a reason why she doesn't trust me. Makes sense, right? But here's the kicker. You might know what one or two of those root issues are behind their story, but there's always one or two more that you're completely unaware of. You have no clue that they've been thinking this way or feeling this way for years, right? And unless we unearth all 4 or sometimes 5 of these root issues, you won't get them back because that is their defense mechanism against coming back to you. And unless we help them lower that defense mechanism and remove it completely, then they will continue to hold on to it. So how do I know that this is true? Okay, how do I know, like, you can't read your spouse's mind? I heard some people talk about that right over the chat. And I just want to ask you guys here, how many of you have ever been blindsided? Like, you had no clue that this is going on in your spouse's mind. You thought everything was fine. You thought that the relationship was just great. Dottie raised her hand. You thought that everything, like, you had no idea that they felt this way, that they thought this way, or that you just don't understand how they could possibly be doing what they're doing. You have no clue who this person is. Like, where's the person that you married? Anson raised her hand. Colin said completely oblivious. I have no clue that this was going on, right? So many times we do not understand what's going on inside of our spouse. And that is why it takes the outside perspective of an expert to fully diagnose the situation. For me, I went through breast cancer at the age of 29. I was pregnant with our 6th baby at the time. And I had no clue how this happened or why this happened. And I knew that I needed to rely upon experts. I couldn't just go try to solve it myself. You know, would that have ended well for me if I just tried to cut out the tumor? I mean, I knew exactly where it was right here. If I just tried to do surgery on myself and take it out, would that work? Would that have led to a good result? It would have been disastrous, right? But how many of us are trying to do it ourselves in our marriage? We're just trying to figure it out. We're just trying to do the best that we can. We don't have the expert guidance there to help us. And then how many of us are going to like a general doctor? If I went to a general doctor and they just like prescribed some pills or something, that would have been completely disastrous. What I did, what I was led to do in the core of my heart, I knew what I needed to do is save my life and save my baby's life. I went to one of the top experts in the world and had them diagnose the situation and then prescribe the exact treatment that was going to lead to the result I want. And so that is exactly what we do here with you. We as the experts go in and we uncover what those root issues are, and we show you exactly how to unearth them so that then we can help our spouse let them go. Make sense? And as we do this process, instead of guessing at what needs to be changed or guessing at what to do or assuming that we know what to do, we actually know exactly what to do. We know exactly what the issues and the perceptions are. And now we know what needs to be changed. How is that different from what you've been doing up until this point? Okay, this root assessment is super powerful. We have to start here, and so many people do not do this. They just rush into action, they get into fear mode, and they do not take time to uncover those deeper root issues with an expert. All right, then after we know what the root issues are, now we go into the attraction phase, okay? We're going to help them question their narrative about us, and they'll actually want to spend more time with us. In this phase, it's really important that we stop doing a few things because these things completely backfire. Now, most of us have made one, if not all of these mistakes. And so if that's you, you're not alone. I've made them myself. And if you have a huge aha moment, like, you just kind of get like hit upside the head and like, oh my goodness, I've been doing that. And no wonder why it isn't working. First, stop demanding that they work on the marriage. We get into fear, we get into fight, flight, or freeze mode, and we demand that they work on the marriage. That sounds like you need to go to counseling, you need to fix this with me, you need to honor your marriage vows, you need to stop the affair, you need to change, you need to do this, right? But what happens is it only backfires. It only causes them to dig their heels in more and pull away even more. Okay, I'm going over here to the chat. Dottie said I did all 4. Yeah. Tim, all right, I'll get to that in a little bit. Even if I stop drinking, she's still leaving me as an addiction. Yeah. And so you've still got that story there. What about manipulating, pleading, begging, acting out of desperation? I'm going to take the kids if you don't come back. I'm going to have an affair if you keep doing this. I'm going to go do whatever I want with whoever I want. Trying to manipulate them to come back. Pleading, please don't go. Please come back to me. Please give me another chance. Please, 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 please. I'm begging you. I'm desperate. How many of us are in desperation, right? And then how many of us are just freezing out of fear? We don't know what to do. Anthony raised hand. Yeah, did all of it. Darren says, Robert, my body's full of anxiety all the time. I can't think of anything else in her. I tremble constantly. Right, we get into fight, flight, or freeze. And all of this comes because of a natural instinct that we have when we encounter situations like this. We aren't taught what to do when your spouse says they want out of it. Mark says, this is all me. Colin says, I did all of those and no success. So what we teach you to do instead is to get out of the fight, flight, or freeze mode, because it will only cause your spouse to pull further away from you. It makes sense. Okay, let's just imagine something here for a little bit, okay? Let's imagine that we're in a room with someone and they are really, really tense. They're really, really fearful. They're really, really desperate. Maybe they're coming at you and they're saying, you have to do this, or I'm demanding you, I'm pleading with you, all these different things. What do we instinctually do if we're in a situation like that? What's our instincts? Right, it's to back away. You guys are getting it, right? We back away. And so when we're coming at our spouse with a lot of this tension and this desperation and this pleading, this demands, it causes them to back away, right? Hey, Linda's joining us, thank you. And she's gonna help you guys over in the chat. So if you want a specific question with her, she's one of our amazing coaches. Hi, Linda, I love you. And so she will let you give you some answers over there. So watch the chat and she'll help us out over there. So thank you, appreciate that. So what we want to do instead is learn some emotional processing techniques to help calm down that fear. All right. And what happens when we learn these emotional processing techniques, I'm going through some slides here. I don't know why I had so many, but we're going to start doing some new things instead. We're going to start to validate their experience. We're going to start to increase our understanding towards them. This is not a normal thing for us to do. The normal thing is to get defensive and try to prove ourselves or to make demands that they change. And what happens is that we're not understanding why our spouse is doing what they're doing. But as we start to ask some questions and allow them to see that I really care about you and I want to understand where you're coming from and why you're feeling this way, because I care about you, not because I'm trying to make you come back to me or make this work, but that I want you to be happy and see if I can support you in some way in that. That is a completely different feeling than when you're coming at them with fear and desperation and manipulation, right? And saying, I see that this is really hard for you. It's really hard for me too. I'm going to give some examples about this a little bit later in the communication part, okay? The second part here, after we've done some validation and some understanding, is we take the pressure off. Sounds weird, right? Because you want this to work. You want to get to that result that you talked about being 3 months from now, a year from now. But we actually need to take the pressure off. And as we take the pressure off of you, off of them, off of the relationship, it gives some room for the things that you want to come to you, instead of chasing after them, which only makes them flee further from us. We open a room in ourselves and in our life and in the relationship so it can breathe. It's kind of like smothering a fire, right? It's like we got to give it some room, some oxygen so it can breathe and reignite. As we take the pressure off, your spouse will feel it. they will feel that the pressure has eased, and it will make them notice. It's a little bit like when you're dating, right? You got kind of like the cat and mouse thing. Like you've got the cat that's pursuing the mouse. And right now it's like you're the pursuer and they feel like the mouse and they're trying to get away, and you keep going after them, which makes them kind of get away, want to get away more. What we do is we take a huge step back. And when we take a big step back, what happens to the mouse? They're like, oh, where's the cat? Can you tell I spend like most of my days with toddlers? All right, and as we take the pressure off, they will notice it and they'll be like, huh, something's different about Robert. Something's different about Mel. Something's different about, we got all of you guys awesome on here, Stephen and Colin and Mark and Darren and Terrence. Something's different about Tim and Dottie and Nicole and Carl. What is it? I don't feel pursued anymore. And they will start to feel safe to start taking some steps towards you as you get to the next part here, which is increase that understanding. And they will actually be drawn to you and want to spend some time with you. Colin says, I started this and the results were immediate. We are talking and sharing time, even some flirting. I thrive. That's our coaching, I thrive. Colin, it does get their attention right away. It makes them notice, which is exactly what we want to do. And then when we make them notice, we're going to build some attraction by showing some increased understanding and validation, and respect both people's needs as we meet theirs first, and as we get ours met in the healthiest way that we can at that point in the relationship. Again, we guide you through each of these milestones, so you're not alone, and we know exactly how to do it. Linda over here is talking to Terrence about some help with some healthy boundaries, that feeling safe is important and good. Yes, awesome. Okay, oh, that's the only people can say it, sorry. Didn't see that one. All right, so as we do this, this will get their attention right away. And as we have their attention, now we build on that to create some attraction. So like a magnet, they're actually going to want to come back to you again. And here in the communication part of this attraction piece, we're going to help coach you on exactly what to say, how to say it, as you learn the steps so you get your spouse's attention right away, and that we avoid some of these big common mistakes, right? So I'm going to go through some examples of some real clients. The names have been changed, but some of their text conversations. How many of you have received a text, maybe even recently, maybe in the last 24 hours, where you're like, oh my goodness, I don't know how to respond to this? Our clients send us their spouse's texts, and we help them, coach them on how to reply back so that communication is as effective as possible. So here's Sharon. She got this text. I told you it's over. You should just move on. Stop trying to make this work. How would you respond to this, right? How would you respond if your spouse said, I told you it's over. Just move on. Stop trying to make it work. How many of you received a text like that yourself, right? How would you respond to it? All right, I'm going to look at this. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's very tricky. Here's how most people respond. Let me know how you would respond. Would you go into begging? Would you go into pleading? Would you say, please give me another chance, right? Let's see how most people say it. Most people might say something like this. I know what you said, but I just need you to listen. Please hear me out. I love you. I want to fix this. I know it can work. Okay. How many of us would reply with something like that? It doesn't sound too bad in theory, right? But here's where it's a common mistake, because it's going to be ineffective. You're still in that desperation. You're still not really listening or hearing what they're saying. Yeah, Mark, I went to begging and manipulating. Me trying so hard is pushing her away to another man. Valencia, I went to pleading, begging. He doesn't want to hear anything I have to say. Yeah. So instead of saying something like this, which is going to backfire, your coach would send you something like this and tell you that this would be a much better text instead. So here's the ineffective one. And over here is a much more effective response. And you guys can take this right now and apply it to your relationship and see if it doesn't make some immediate changes, just like Colin said when he took the pressure off. These things work, and we help you step by step get them. So Sharon, here's the response that is effective. Okay, so they said, I told you it's over. You should just move on. Stop trying to make this work. Okay. And the appropriate response, the better response would be, I know that for you, the relationship is over and that you would like for me to move on. But I think I am having a hard time accepting that because there are some things I don't quite understand. Would you be willing to have one conversation about this and answer some specific questions to help me get some clarity? I believe this may also help me to better understand your perspective. I want to show you respect here. I'm just struggling with how to do that right now. What do you guys think? What do you guys think about this? Do you see some of those elements I was talking about? Do you see that they took the pressure off? Do you see that right here at the beginning, they validated where their spouse was at? For you, I see that the relationship is over. For me, I'm having a hard time accepting that, right? And a simple invitation, would you be willing to have one conversation with me about this to help me get some clarity and help me understand your perspective? See how inviting that is? I'm not trying to get you back. I'm just trying to understand some things, and I'm hoping that I can understand you as well. And I'm wanting to show you some respect. I respect where you are. Do you guys see the difference here? Yeah. All right. So Tim, there's some things, or I'm not sure if that's your name because it's two names together. A way that it's coming across that's manipulative. So there's some tweaks that need to be done there. Yeah. Colin says, understanding their perspective is really important. We may not agree, but at least you can see how they see things. Exactly. Yeah. Robert says, we've had lots of conversations about this and she has given me clarity. Exactly. So that's where we want to start. And if you've already reached this milestone, awesome. Let's pay attention to the next few steps so you can fully restore your relationship. So now that we have their attention, we're no longer pushing. We've given them some space. We've taken the pressure off. We're increasing the understanding and the validation. We put in some healthy boundaries where needed. We built their attraction where they're wanting to spend more time with us. They're wanting to talk to us. Now we go into building connection to step 3. And here is where we help them let go of their root issues so they see the possibility of being happy with us again. Letting go of the root issues so they see the possibility of being happy with us again. Our clients love this stage, and some of you may be at this stage. And the benefits that we see here is that your spouse, they're going to give you the time of day again. They're actually going to want to talk to you. You may have amazing conversations. You'll be able to talk about anything. You'll be able to talk about things you haven't talked about in years, or things that you have never ever talked about. And you're going to have this amazing connection. There's not going to be that tension. There's not going to be those arguments. There's not going to be those back and forth of defensiveness and pulling away more and more. There's not going to be that stonewalling or just completely closing you off anymore. What happens is this is amazing progress, right? It feels really, really good. It feels like you're friends again. It feels like you have this great connection. So some of you said at the beginning that we're friends. We're in the friend stage, but they say, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. So if you're stuck at this stage, you're not alone. The problem is that most people completely miss the mark here and they think that they're done. Excuse me, they think that they have fully restored their relationship, but they haven't gotten there all the way. And that's why there's one last step. There's one last hurdle we have to overcome that most people completely miss, which is why they aren't able to fully restore the relationship. I don't want you to miss it. So that's where we're going to go to the final step, which is commitment. And in commitment, we're going to replace their old story about us with a new one where they want to be with us. And here's what we do not do at this stage that most people do. We do not give up when it gets hard. It's going to get hard. It's going to get really hard, okay? I'm not here to paint a fairy tale. This is a process, and there are parts of it that are extremely hard. And what happens is that most of our clients have made all this progress, right? You're friends again, you're talking again, you're connecting again, you have this respect between each other. You start to build up a certain level of trust. But what happens is that it's going to get really hard, and your spouse is going to give you a test, not like consciously, They're not going to consciously think, oh, I'm going to test Robert today or Terrence, right? But they're going to give a test subconsciously. They're going to test the waters here. They want to see, are you for real? Can I fully give you my heart again? Can I fully let this story go? They're still holding on to a tiny bit of that story and that defense mechanism. And as things start to warm up and they've questioned, they're wanting to leave and they're more wanting to stay with you, it gets to be a little scary for them. And we can give them some compassion because it's scary for us too. So we get where they're coming from. And at this point, they're just wanting so badly to let the story go, but it's still coming up as like this like final little battle. It's throwing its last little toddler fit just to see if you're for real and if they can really trust you and give you their heart again fully. And what happens is when this happens, most people, they give up, they think it's not working, they think that they've made all this progress and now they just blew it, and so it's over for them. The bottom line is it's not over. We've identified that there's about 12 tests most spouses put you through before they finally change their belief about you. And we'll teach you how to pass all of them. In fact, we've been doing this so long, we will both know, you and me and the team here, like we will know what story your spouse is going to throw back in your face right at the end. And we will be prepared for what to do when that happens so that you can help them let that story go. So with the example of I love you, but I'm not in love with you. Say that your spouse had that and that's why they're wanting a divorce. That's why they're having an affair. That's why they're not happy. And then you make all this progress and you're able to talk with respect. You're able to talk with understanding. You're able to build up this friendship. And they tell you, I'm so grateful that we've done this. I'm so grateful that we're able to communicate like this now and understand each other. It's going to be so great when we, co-parent the kids because, the passion just still not there. Like, I really care about you, but I just need to go be happy, and I'm not really happy here. And you're like, what? I've been working like we came all this way. How could you say that? And it's not the end. What it is, it's just that little bit of their defense mechanism coming up so that they can fully put it to rest. And as you show them that they can fully put it to rest, they will let it go. And as they let it go, they will be fully committed to you again. You'll have that amazing vulnerability, that amazing intimacy, and that amazing trust. How good would that feel, right? How good would that feel to replace overwhelm that you're feeling right now? I don't know what to do. I don't know what's working. I don't know what to do. So I'm doing nothing. Or I'm just thinking about it all the time. I'm consumed by it. I mean, when you guys mentioned being in tremors about it because you're so consumed and in fight, flight, or freeze mode that it's just completely overwhelming. How good would it feel to replace that overwhelm with direction? I know exactly where I'm going. I know why I'm going there. The confusion, I don't know what to do. I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know what's going on in spouse's head. I don't know where I'm going to be a year from now. I don't know what I'm going to do if I'm alone. All those things with clarity. I know who I am. I know what I'm doing. And this feels right. And I'm doing exactly what I need to do. And it's going to be okay no matter what. The fear and the pain that you're in right now, with hope and with peace of mind that cannot be taken away from you, that no matter what happens to you, you know that you are a rock that cannot be moved, that you are like the eye of the storm, and the storm might be raging all around you, but you are no longer just going to go with life. You're going to choose your direction and be a rock inside yourself. That is what having a coach on your side with the right method gives you. Sound good? Let me know. What are you guys thinking? I see a lot of you talking about the story, a lot of you talking about the damage, a lot of you talking about, DNA testing, and we're talking about need and doing things out of hurt and anger. How good would that really feel to replace that pain and that overwhelm with clarity, with direction, and with peace? I'll give you an example of a client I worked with many years ago. Changed his name to Rob. When I met him, he was absolutely trying to control everything in his life because he felt deeply, deeply insecure. Deeply insecure. So that manifested as I'm trying to control my wife, I'm trying to control my kids, I try to control my business. And what happened was that she couldn't take it anymore. And she went off and had multiple affairs. Total midlife crisis. Went off the deep end. Left him with their 2 kids. And he came to me and said, I really love her. I really care about her. All my friends are telling me that I should just move on. But something inside of me is saying, I need to do this. I need to become a better person. And I need to figure this out. I have not been taught how to deal with this insecurity. I've not been taught how to communicate how I really feel with my wife. Every time I try, I totally blow it because I get back into fear and try to control her again. It's just pushing her further and further away. And it wasn't working with his kids. It wasn't working with his career. So everything felt like it was falling apart. And he learned how to let that insecurity go. I worked with him and coached him on how to replace that belief and that story about himself with the one that was true, that he is good enough, that he is worthy, that he is deserving, that he can receive love, that he is capable. And as he started to embody that at a core level, he became a rock in the storm. I hear Carol, amen, yes. And he was like, it's okay. You know, no matter what happens, I know I'm going to be okay. And as he did that, he let go of all that unhealthy behavior that was causing all of that chaos in his life. Carl said, a solid oak tree that cannot be pushed. It would feel amazing, Anson says. It would feel blissful. Yeah, it means everything to me. All my family means everything to me. It's the most important thing. Colin, it's important to be seen, to be vulnerable, to be completely open. Yes, awesome. So now I want to ask you a question. How many of you feel a little like this right now? Right, raise your hand. I just shared a lot with you. I had to go fast because time's short and I understand your time is precious and I'm grateful that you're here, but it's a lot to take in. And maybe you realized, oh my goodness, I have been doing that and this is why it hasn't been working up until now. And oh my goodness, I see that I do need to increase some understanding towards my spouse. I see that I do need to find out how to restore the trust and go through those milestones. I'm hearing yes, oh my goodness, absolutely. I feel a little bit like that, right? Like we're breathing from a fire hose, right? So if we had a way to share more with you about PATH method, would you guys be interested? Terrence raised his hand. Awesome. All right, cool. There's only so much I can share with you right now. This is the high level overview. And okay, yes, you guys do. Awesome. Got Jan and Nicole. Yes, please. And Tim. Valencia. All right, awesome. So how our coaching process works. How can you use this PATH method in your life? How can it help you get there? Stephen says, yes, exclamation. Darren, yes, this is the most important thing. Absolutely, 100%. Cool. All right, so how it works is we've got 4 different ways that we help you so that change happens fast. We get their attention right away. We make every interaction as effective as possible to help them let that story go and want to come back with you again. We do that through one-on-one coaching sessions, of course. And here is where you book a call with us and we do it over Zoom, just kind of like we're meeting right now, in a one-on-one coaching session. And in these coaching sessions is where we're able to go really deep. We always start with that root assessment. We uncover those 4 to 5 reasons why your spouse wants out. And unless we uncover all of them, they will not come back. And that's why it's so crucial that we start with that root assessment in the one-on-one coaching. This is how Leah is basically left to the other woman and getting back to that, back to her. Let her share that with you.
So my husband started cheating on me in November, and I found out in February, about a month before our son was born, and I was broken. I thought that I was never going to get through it. I felt like a part of me had died. And I didn't know what to do. And then one day, about 3 months ago, I found an ad on Facebook talking about the program. And for me, it was a sign from God, because I was at my wit's end. I didn't know what to do anymore. I felt like all I was doing was walking in circles. And so I joined the program on my last leg of hope, and it made a huge difference in my life. Because of the program, I started doing more self-reflection, and I started working on me, and I started improving myself and bringing that to my marriage. And because of that, because of following the program and speaking my husband's love language and finding what my husband needed because of the help of the program, my husband and I can now say that we've been married for 5 years as of last week. And he's left the other women, and he's focusing on his family, and he wants to have a future with me, and he wants to have a future with me and our son together as a family. And I'm telling you guys, it's amazing. It's an amazing feeling knowing that I still get to spend the rest of my life with the love of my life. And some of you guys might be feeling like you're losing hope. Don't give up. Don't give up. Keep pushing through. When you feel like you have nothing left to give, when you feel like you are on your last leg, you aren't. You have more strength than you realize, and you can get through this, and you will get through this. Just keep doing the program, keep sticking with it, keep believing in yourself, and I promise you guys, you will see a difference.
Leah, that was about 3 years ago, and she has now had 2 more children with her husband, and it's just beautiful to watch her progress, as well as so many of our clients that have applied this process, even with affairs, even in extreme cases, that, sometimes we think that it couldn't be possibly worse for me, and then we realized that it was 10 times worse for someone else, and they still overcame. And so that's a beautiful thing. In addition to doing the one-on-one coaching, we also do group coaching sessions. And this we do every single day of the week, Monday through Friday. You do not have to attend them all, but the reason why we offer so many of these live group coaching sessions is so that it can work in your schedule. Like I said, we're an international marriage coaching company. I know we have some people here from Australia, the UK. And so we do that to offer in a lot of different time zones, so the time will work best for you, no matter where you live. And here's where you can get on. I mean, you could come on every day if you wanted. And you could say, okay, this just happened. What should I do? This just happened. What do I do? Okay, she said we're friends now. What do we do, right? How do we continually make progress and continue to break through the barriers that you're currently facing? We guide you milestone by milestone through the journey to make sure that you get to that result and give you all the support that you need. We also have a video training element to this, where we give you that foundational knowledge of what it really takes to get their attention, to build some attraction, to open up communication, to start to restore some trust, to set some healthy boundaries, and to help them want to come back with you and let that story fully go. So that's our foundational piece, where we give you not only the information, but we allow you to take that information, do these daily exercises, and allow it to create transformation in your life. All right, awesome. And then here's an example from one of our clients, Sarah, as she opened up communication. She says, another win for the week. My husband and I have started communicating. The communication train. I love talking to him again. I saw his other woman driving through our town on Saturday morning, and my rage was intense. I dropped my kids off and went to have a conversation. I didn't even know what I was going to say, but I knew that those boundaries were being crossed. I stayed calm, and we had a huge heart-to-heart. Not about where we wanted to be, but about setting realistic boundaries, and I listened, and so did he. Since our conversation, he's been home and present in our family. I still want to see where he makes some changes before we fully blown have the us conversation, but we are another step forward. Can't wait to see what this next week takes us. So that is showing the piece of her journey as they were opening up communication and learning how to understand and respect each other. And now, I mean, this was like a year or so ago, and she and her husband are again both fully together. And what's so amazing to me, and I really hope that if nothing else, you pay attention to this, that when we face these challenges, and I've talked to so many people that have gone through affairs, and so many people have gone through the worst hellish thing of their life, and they can now look back on that and say, it was the best thing that ever happened, which just is incredible to me, that you could look at an affair and say it was the best thing that ever happened in our marriage. Why would they say that? They say that because it allowed them to finally look at the things that were going on for years that led up to that point. And for years, they finally healed those things. They finally changed the patterns inside themselves so that those same things didn't keep coming up again and again in their lives. And so that is the call for each of us that life is giving us. These challenges are coming here to teach us something, to help us become even better, to finally let go of the not enoughness that we might feel, or I'm not worthy, or I'm not good enough. So we can finally put that to rest and uncover the truth of who we really are. And that is the choice that we each have if we choose to. Now, in addition to that, we also offer email support. So you have multiple avenues to have constant and immediate support along this journey. I remember the text conversations I talked about. So say you get a text and you're like, how do I respond to her? How do I respond to him? You send that text in to your coach and we give you feedback on exactly how we can help you with that and exactly what you should say in this situation. So those are the pillars of what this program involves and how we help you with the path method to go from where you are right now, where your spouse wants out, you're overwhelmed, you're in pain, you don't know what to do, what you have been doing hasn't been working, to where you really want to be, where you feel empowered, where you feel at peace, where you know that it's going to be okay no matter what. And when you're in that place, you'll give space so your spouse can let their story go about you and about the relationship and want to come back to you. All right, so I'm going to turn some time over here to Linda. She's been helping a lot of you over here in the chat as I've been sharing with you. So thank you so much, Linda, and show you guys exactly how you can get started if this speaks to you. The bottom line is we each need to listen to what that inner part of us says is true. We have to tune out all the other voices, tune out the fear and the overwhelm and say, what do I really want? What is life calling me towards right now? What does that inner part of me say I need to do? And when you listen to that, it will guide you in the right way. Whether that's with us or with someone else, it doesn't matter. You will be guided to what is going to serve you best. And you can look back on today at the end of your life and say, I have no regrets. I did exactly what I knew I needed to do in that moment. And I have peace of mind. And that is priceless. So Linda, if you're there, you can go ahead and unmute yourself. Linda is one of our amazing coaches here at High Thrive Coaching. And so she's going to share with you a little bit more about how you can get started.